When a struggling single dad found a lost golden retriever on a rainy night, he never imagined the search to return it would change his family's life. A heartwarming story of hope, kindness, and unexpected reward. The alarm buzzed at 6 a.m., but Ethan was already awake. He lay still in the cold apartment, listening to the faint drip of a leaky faucet and the quiet rise and fall of his daughter's breathing from the other room. The heat had clicked off sometime in the early hours again. It was temperamental, like most things in this second-floor rental. He swung his legs over the side of the bed, feet finding the cold floor with a familiar wince. With a practiced motion, he wrapped his flannel around his shoulders, yawned without sound, and padded into the tiny kitchen. The coffee machine was ancient and groaned like it resented being used, but it worked. So did he. The day began the same way every day, quietly, with care. A peanut butter sandwich for Lily's lunch. Thermos of cocoa. Crumbs brushed from the counter with his sleeve. He moved like someone trying not to disturb a sleeping world. Dad. Lily stood in the doorway, her hair a chaotic crown, one sock drooping, clutching her favorite plush rabbit like it still had magic powers. "You're up early, Bug," he said, offering a warm smile as he handed her the cocoa. She took it wordlessly and leaned against his side. "Do I have music today?" He thought. It was Thursday. "Yeah, I think so." "Recorder." She made a face. "Ugh. Miss Bryant always says I play too softly." Ethan ruffled her hair. "Better than too loudly. Soft is sweet." By the time they left the apartment, the sun had barely risen. His old pickup sputtered to life with a reluctant cough, and they drove to school with the windows cracked just enough to keep the windshield from fogging up. Lily talked about her dream, something involving floating pancakes and a penguin that could sing Taylor Swift. Ethan laughed in all the right places, but his mind was already drifting to bills. Rent was due in 4 days. Gas was low. And his hours at the hardware store had been trimmed again. At the drop-off lane, Lily leaned over the console and kissed his cheek. "Love you, Dad. Love you more." She waved, oversized backpack bouncing behind her as she joined the stream of kids under the school's archway. For a moment, he watched her disappear into the crowd, that familiar ache tightening behind his ribs. She was all he had, and he was all she knew. Ethan's shift started at 8 a.m. on the dot. Miller's Hardware wasn't much, a locally owned place with wood-paneled walls, dusty corners, and a radio that only played old country tunes, but it was steady. He'd been there for 4 years now, mostly on the register or stocking shelves. "Morning, cowboy," said Miriam, the wiry woman in charge of lumber. She was 50, brisk, and had a laugh like a crow. "Don't call me that unless I get a horse. Fat chance. We barely get new hammers in here." The banter was a bomb. Light, familiar. Ethan appreciated it more than he let on. His morning passed with repetitive efficiency, cutting rope for a farmer who mumbled through his order, helping a newlywed couple pick out the right kind of nails for a shelf they were pretending they knew how to install. Then came Mrs. Lind, a regular. She always bought one item, just one, and lingered at the counter, often spinning tales about her cat or estranged son. Today, it was batteries. "You're good with people," she said offhandedly, watching him pack her purchase. Ethan gave a modest shrug. "I try." "No, I mean it. You listen. Not a lot of folks do that these days." He smiled, but his chest tugged. Compliments were like rain, welcome, rare, and often gone too fast. He had 20 minutes and a tuna sandwich that was more bread than fish. He scrolled through job boards on his phone but quickly exited when the storage room's flickering light and radio static made concentrating hard. A text from Lily's school reminded parents of the upcoming class trip, $35 due tomorrow. He sighed and stared at his wallet, already thin enough to feel like a joke. $35 felt like a mountain. A knock on the doorframe. It was Henry, the store manager, leaning in with his usual grim expression. "Hey, Ethan. Just a heads up, we're scaling back hours again next week. You'll get Wednesday off." Ethan nodded slowly. "Understood." Henry hesitated, then added, "It's not you. Just slow season." He wanted to say, "It's always slow season. For me." By 7:30 p.m., Lily was in her pajamas, eating mac and cheese on the floor while Ethan cleaned up. The apartment smelled faintly of canned tomato sauce and laundry detergent. The TV played an old animated movie, something with talking dogs and a villainous cat. "You okay, Dad?" she asked, between bites. He paused at the sink. "Yeah. Just tired." "You always say that." He looked over and saw her watching him, not as a child watches a parent, but as someone trying to read the unspoken parts. He sat beside her and tugged her close. "Sometimes tired is what happens when you're trying really hard," he said. "But you know what? Trying means we're still in the game." "That sounds like something from a movie." He grinned. "Then it must be true." Later, he tucked her in and read a chapter from Charlotte's Web. When he got to the part where Wilbur feared being alone, he saw her eyes glisten. "Do you think animals know when we're sad?" she whispered. "Yeah," he said. "I think they do." With Lily asleep, Ethan sat by the window in the dim glow of the street lamp, sipping a lukewarm cup of tea. The silence pressed against him, but he didn't resist it. He picked up a pencil and quietly balanced his budget in a half-torn notebook. Numbers didn't lie, and tonight they said, not enough. And yet, he stared at a photo on the wall. Lily, age 4, grinning with missing teeth, her arms around a Labrador from a friend's farm. That day had been golden. He whispered to no one in particular. "Keep doing good. Even if it's invisible. Even if it doesn't come back." He had no idea how wrong he was. Something was coming back. And it had 4 legs. It started with rain. A steady, silver curtain blurred the town as Ethan drove home from the night shift. The streetlights shimmered like oil on water, and the windshield wipers fought to keep pace. It was nearly 9 p.m. when he pulled into the cracked parking lot of his apartment building. The engine clicked off, but he didn't move at first. His forehead rested briefly against the wheel. The weight of the week, of bills and short hours and unanswered job applications, sat in his chest like wet cement. Then he saw it, just beyond the yellow splash of the corner lamppost, near the rusting bench at the bus stop across the street. Something small, trembling, huddled in a curl too tight for comfort. He blinked and squinted, wiping the windshield from the inside with his sleeve. A shape emerged from the shadows. A dog. Not a mutt, not a stray in the usual sense. This one was clean, but soaked. Golden fur clung to a lean frame, tail tucked, ears pinned. It limped, trying to find shelter beneath the bench but only managed to make itself smaller. Its head turned toward Ethan's truck. They locked eyes. And just like that, he was out of the truck. The rain soaked him immediately. Thin hoodie, work pants, worn boots, none of it stood a chance. He approached slowly, crouching low as he neared the bench. "Hey, buddy," he said gently, voice lost in the drumming rain. "It's okay. I'm not gonna hurt you." The dog didn't growl, didn't back away. It simply looked at him, like it had been waiting. Up close, Ethan saw the injury, a small gash above the paw, crusted with mud. The dog lifted it slightly, as if trying to keep it from the wet ground. A broken collar hung around its neck, half the tag missing. Whatever information had once lived there was gone. "Poor guy," Ethan whispered. "You've been out here a while, huh?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out the last half of a protein bar. The dog sniffed the air, eyes locked on Ethan's hand. A pause. Then, slowly, it limped forward and took the offering with surprising gentleness. Lily's face lit up the moment she opened the door. "Dad, you found a dog." Ethan, dripping wet, wiped his shoes and ushered the animal inside. The dog padded cautiously across the floor, sniffing every surface like a detective on a mission. "He's hurt," Ethan said, "and I think he's lost." Lily was already grabbing a towel. "He's perfect." They dried him off by the heater, an old, clanking radiator that worked when it felt like it. Ethan sat cross-legged, using gentle hands to inspect the dog's paw. It wasn't deep, but it needed cleaning. He sent Lily to the bathroom for antiseptic wipes and an old sock. The dog didn't flinch. It watched him work with wide, patient eyes, trusting. Ethan cleaned the wound, wrapped the paw, and tied the sock around it with a rubber band. A crude, makeshift bandage, but it would hold. Lily sat beside them, hugging her knees. "He's so calm. Like, he knows we're trying." Ethan nodded, quiet for a beat. "Should we name him?" He hesitated. "Let's not. He belongs to someone. Our job's just to help him find his way back." The next morning, Ethan woke early. The rain had passed, leaving the world washed and gray. The dog, curled at the foot of Lily's bed, looked up as he passed, tail thumping once, slowly. Ethan made toast, poured cereal, and printed makeshift flyers on the old printer he'd salvaged from a yard sale 2 years ago. The ink was fading, but it did the job. Found dog. Golden retriever, medium size, friendly, minor injury. Found near Maple and 9th. No clear tag. Call or text 555-218-3841. He posted the first one on the telephone pole outside their building. Another went to the bakery window down the street. A few on local mailboxes. He taped one on the bulletin board at Miller's Hardware during his break and asked Miriam to spread the word. "Dog looks like it knows secrets," she said, peering at the photo on the flyer. "I like him." That night, Ethan borrowed Lily's school tablet to post in every local forum and lost pet group he could find. He uploaded a picture, one Lily had taken of the dog curled in a blanket by the heater, and captioned it. "Found this guy in the rain near the bus stop on Maple. Looks like someone's family. Hoping we can get him home." Within hours, the post gained traction. A woman named Carla offered a leash and food donation. A teen named June from the local coffee shop shared the post to her 8,000 followers. "Internet likes a good dog story," she messaged. "Let's find his human." The next few days were strange in the best possible way. The dog, despite Ethan's resistance, became part of the routine. Lily named him Comet, just for now, and he followed her to the bathroom every morning like a loyal sentinel. He waited by the door when Ethan left for work, tail swaying slowly. He never barked. Just watched. Like he understood. Ethan couldn't deny it. Having Comet around made things lighter. Lily laughed more. The apartment felt less hollow. Even the neighbors, who normally kept to themselves, started greeting Ethan with "Any news on the dog?" But the owner hadn't come forward. On Friday, Ethan got his paycheck. It was less than expected. He stood outside the grocery store staring at the receipt in one hand and the vet's estimate in the other. Cleaning the wound had helped, but Comet still limped. He'd need a real checkup. The vet visit would mean cutting into food money. He sat on the curb for a long time, receipt flapping against his knee in the wind. 100 things he could say to justify waiting. Or not going. But then he remembered how Comet had lain beside Lily last night, gently resting his head on her back as she read aloud from Charlotte's Web. No leash. No command. Just there. Ethan stood, went to the ATM, and withdrew what little he had. Dr. Keene was kind but businesslike. He confirmed the paw wasn't fractured, just a deep cut that had been slowly healing. He cleaned it properly, gave Comet a shot, and scanned for a microchip. There's something here, the vet said, eyebrows lifting. But it's damaged. I can't get the full ID. Maybe a vet farther east registered it. Ethan nodded. Worth chasing. Dr. Keene offered to make some calls. As they left the clinic, Comet nudged Ethan's side with his nose. Just once. A silent thank you. That night, Ethan sat with Lily and Comet on the floor, surrounded by art supplies and takeout boxes. They were drawing new flyers, ones Lily insisted had to be more colorful so they catch more eyes. Maybe the reason no one's called, she said thoughtfully, is because Comet's person is alone, like us. Maybe they don't even know how to look. Ethan paused mid-bite. He hadn't thought of that. He reached over and squeezed her hand. Then we'll look harder. Later, after Lily fell asleep, Ethan opened the door to let Comet out to the small, fenced-back alley for a bathroom break. The night air was crisp, the sky clear. Ethan leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching the dog sniff around, limping less than before. He looked up at the stars, and the quiet wrapped around him like a blanket. Behind him, Comet padded back inside. Ethan followed, pausing to look down at the dog. We're gonna find your person. I promise. He didn't see the wag of the tail, but he felt it. It began with the flyer on the bakery window. Not the first Ethan had posted, but the one with Lily's drawing, a golden dog sitting under a rainbow, big brown eyes staring out from crayon lines. The caption in Lily's uneven handwriting said, "He's someone's best friend. Please help him get home." By the next morning, someone had stuck a sticky note beneath it. We'll ask around. Looks familiar. Marnie, the book nook. And just like that, the town took notice. Ethan stopped by the hardware store on Saturday to pick up more flyers. As he walked past Curtis Auto Repair, he heard someone call out, "Hey, dog guy." It was Manny Curtis, the grizzled mechanic with a permanent scowl and oil stains for fingerprints. He rarely spoke more than 5 words to anyone unless it involved carburetors or catalytic converters. Ethan turned. Me. Yeah. You're the one with the golden dog, right? I guess I am. Manny wiped his hands on a rag and waved him over. You got more of those posters? Bring one here. I'll laminate 'em for you. Ethan blinked. Seriously? Rain ruins paper, Manny grunted. Waste of good ink. He muttered something under his breath before adding, he reminds me of a dog I had back in '88. Name was Elvis. Smart as a priest, dumb as a doorknob. Broke my heart when he got hit by a mail truck. Ethan handed him a flyer. Thanks, Manny. Really. Don't thank me. Thank the dog. He's got a look. By midweek, the flyers were showing up in surprising places. The post office bulletin board, the public library front desk, even taped to a lamppost with yarn by someone who clearly cared. Then came the coffee shop. Ethan had only ever popped into Perk and Pour once or twice. It was the kind of place with soy options and tip jars shaped like mushrooms. But Lily dragged him in one afternoon after school, excited to meet June. June, the teen barista with a pink buzz cut and 7 piercings, greeted them like old friends. Lily's art is blowing up, just so you know. What? Ethan asked. I posted your dog's flyer to my account, she said, showing him her phone. Over 1,000 shares. Animal people love a rescue story. Plus, your girl's handwriting? Weaponized empathy. Ethan laughed in disbelief. Thank you. June leaned in. People want to help more than you think. Sometimes they just need permission. She handed them 2 hot chocolates on the house and winked. For Comet's search party. Back at the library, Ethan found Mrs. Ortiz, the retired librarian who'd worked there since the invention of the Dewey Decimal System, or so the rumor went. She'd seen the flyer too. I know dogs, she said, tapping her temple. I've had 8. All rescues. Your boy's got loyal eyes. She pulled out a city map from behind the desk, creased and worn. Dogs roam in patterns, she said. Most circle close to home. They don't wander without reason. Together, they charted points: the bus stop where Ethan found him, the nearby park, 2 veterinary clinics, and a stretch of townhouses to the east. Ethan nodded. This is actually really helpful. Mrs. Ortiz smiled. There's a reason I never retired. People think old librarians only deal in books. Truth is, we catalog everything, including instincts. That Saturday, Ethan got a call from an older woman across town. I think that might be my dog, she said in a shaky voice. Golden, right? Missing since Christmas. Ethan's heart jumped. They drove 20 minutes through side streets, Comet calm in the back seat, ears up like he recognized something. But when they arrived, the woman looked stricken. Oh, no, that's not him. His name was Buster. He had a scar on his eye. Ethan offered her a quiet nod. She apologized, invited them in for tea. Lily accepted. They sat at a table covered in plastic cloth and old photo frames, hearing stories about Buster for 20 minutes before excusing themselves. Back in the truck, Ethan ruffled Comet's ears. You're still a mystery, huh? Comet rested his head on Ethan's shoulder from the back seat. No sound. Just presence. That night, Ethan received a call from Henry at the hardware store. Next week, we're going down to 3 shifts total, he said. Across the board. Ethan sat in silence. 3 shifts wasn't enough. Not even close. After the call, he stood in the kitchen, staring at the fridge door. Past due bills, class trip forms, rent reminders, all stuck on with cheap magnets. Lily was brushing Comet's fur in the living room, humming something tuneless. Dad, she said. He didn't answer. She came up behind him. Are we okay? He turned slowly and crouched down to meet her eyes. We're figuring it out. She looked at him for a long time, then hugged him tightly. We'll find his person, she whispered. And maybe they'll help us too. He didn't say anything, but something shifted inside him. Maybe it was her faith. Maybe it was the dog curled up beside her like he belonged there. Maybe it was both. 2 days later, Dr. Keene called. I spoke to a vet east of town, out near Oak Ridge. They said they had a golden retriever on record whose chip ID ends the same way as your boy's. Dog's name is Buddy. Registered to a man named Robert Anderson. Ethan's heart stuttered. There's an address, the vet added, but no working number. You'll have to go in person. The next morning, Lily made Comet a goodbye bandana that said, "Going home," in glitter glue. June gave them a to-go coffee. Manny laminated one last flyer, just in case. Mrs. Ortiz pressed a folded map into Ethan's hand and said, "Take the scenic route. Sometimes dogs remember smells better than roads." It wasn't just Ethan and Lily and Comet in the truck that day. It was 100 small kindnesses riding with them. Every flyer, every hand raised to help. And somewhere out there, maybe a door about to open. As they pulled out of the town limits, Ethan looked in the rearview mirror. Lily was sitting in the back seat beside Comet, head resting on his shoulder. He sat tall, ears perked, gazing out the window like he knew something the rest of them didn't. "You ready, buddy?" Ethan asked softly. Comet thumped his tail. A new chapter waited just down the road. The sun was just cresting the horizon as Ethan's pickup wound along the rural road outside Oak Ridge. Mist clung low to the ground, and the trees arched overhead like a tunnel, branches dappled in gold. Comet stood in the back seat, alert, nose pressed to the half-cracked window. He hadn't sat once since they passed the welcome sign into town. Lily was quiet too, watching him, as if sensing something was about to change. According to the vet's notes, the address was on Pine Hollow Road, an old residential stretch with farmhouses and wide, sloping yards. When Ethan turned onto it, Comet let out a soft whine. The first sound he'd made in days. They pulled up to the house. It was a modest white-sided home with a sagging porch and wind chimes that danced in the early breeze. The front yard was scattered with sun-bleached toys, a cracked birdbath, and a rusted flagpole. The screen door hung slightly off hinge. Ethan parked, cut the engine, and turned to Comet. "You think this is it?" The dog stared straight ahead, then slowly stepped out of the truck as Ethan opened the door. He didn't run. He walked, purposeful, quiet, straight toward the porch. The screen door opened before they even reached it. A man in his 70s stood framed in the doorway, wearing a flannel shirt, suspenders, and thick glasses. His face was lined, but his eyes were sharp. One hand trembled slightly as it gripped the doorframe. "Buddy," he said, voice barely audible. Comet froze. Then, in the space between heartbeats, everything moved. Comet sprinted up the steps and leapt, not wildly, but with precision, into the man's arms. The old man fell to his knees as the dog buried his face in his chest, tail wagging furiously, letting out a low, broken whimper. "Oh, buddy. I thought you were gone," the man choked, his hand running over the dog's head like he was trying to memorize him all over again. "You came back. You came back." Ethan stood on the gravel, stunned by the weight of it. Lily stepped closer. "Is that his person?" The man looked up, tears streaking his weathered face. "I'm Robert Anderson," he said. "Buddy's mine. Or maybe I'm his. I don't know anymore." He stood slowly, still holding the dog as he approached. "I don't know how to thank you," he said, voice shaking. "He's my therapy dog. I'm a retired Army medic. I got things in my head. Dark things. Buddy, he keeps the lights on." Ethan swallowed hard. "I just found him by chance. Limping near a bus stop in the rain." "Chance?" Robert looked him over. "No, that's not chance. That's something else." Robert insisted they come in for tea. The house smelled of cedar and dust and old memories. Framed medals lined the walls, beside faded photos of soldiers and one woman, smiling, in every picture. "That's my sister," Robert said, pouring hot water into mismatched mugs. "Lived here with me after my stroke last year. Passed 2 months ago. After that, well, it got quiet. Too quiet." He looked at Buddy, who was now curled under Lily's feet, eyes closed, utterly at peace. "He ran off after her funeral. Spooked during a storm. I put flyers everywhere. Didn't think I'd see him again." There was a pause. "Where are you two from?" Robert asked. Ethan explained. About the flyers, the vet, the community effort, the part-time shifts, even the art Lily made to help draw eyes. He didn't intend to share so much, but the story came out, thread by thread, until the whole thing sat on the kitchen table like another guest. Robert listened without interruption. When Ethan finally finished, the old man set down his cup. "You ever think about changing jobs?" Ethan blinked. "What? My sister owned this house. Left it to me. I've been trying to find someone to help keep it up, maybe move in and stay a while. Someone decent. Someone who gets it." He looked Ethan dead in the eye. "You get it." At first, Ethan thought he was joking. But Robert was serious. Dead serious. "I don't want money for rent. I want the right person. Someone who'll take care of the place, and maybe keep an eye on me too. My legs ain't what they used to be. And Buddy, well, he trusts you." Lily looked up, eyes wide. "We could live here?" Ethan was stunned. "That's too much." Robert smiled. "So was finding my dog." Ethan didn't answer right away. He looked out the window toward the sloping field behind the house. Quiet, sunlit, open. Then he looked at Lily. At Comet, who was now back beside Robert, head resting on his foot. Sometimes, life doesn't knock. It walks up in the rain and waits to be seen. The move happened slowly, but it happened. The townspeople helped. Manny showed up with a borrowed trailer and an old toolbox. June filmed a mini TikTok documentary about the goodest boy who changed a family's life. It got 20K views. Mrs. Ortiz cried when Lily gave her a handwritten thank you card. Even Henry, the hardware store manager, gave Ethan a call 2 weeks later. "We've had a bunch of people asking about you. The local paper ran a piece. You ever think of managing one of our full-time branches?" It wasn't just a house Ethan gained. It was dignity. A future. Lily's new school was smaller, warmer. She started drawing again. Her new art project? A comic about a golden dog who reunited lost people. One evening, as spring began to roll in, Ethan, Lily, and Robert took a walk together down the gravel path that led past the barn and toward the woods. Buddy, once Comet, led the way, tail wagging like a metronome of joy. Robert walked slower now, but steady. "I used to think I'd earned every bad thing that came after the war," he said softly. "But Buddy, he reminded me how to sit in peace. Just be." Ethan nodded. "I think that's what dogs do. They bring us back." Lily slipped her hand into Ethan's. The trees rustled with a warm wind, and the sky turned gold. Some rewards come in envelopes. Others come on 4 legs, soaked to the bone, carrying the weight of unseen things. Ethan never found a winning lottery ticket. He didn't get rich. But he got something far rarer, a home, a fresh start, and the kind of reminder people often miss. That one small act of kindness, even from a tired man on a rainy night, can change the course of not just one life, but many. And all it took was stopping to care. If this story touched you, please express your thoughts in kind comments, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt stories.